Hello and welcome to Noontime Gentle Yoga here at the ACC's Community Room. I'm Jeani, your guide for the next hour. We are focusing on the major joint areas, our shoulders, our hips, hopefully some in the ankles. And what we're going to do is just pretty much a continuation of last few weeks. But our special cool down positions will include like a half butterfly, staff position fold, something that maybe if you have trouble meeting your toes when you fold, or bringing your hip into an external rotation in like half butterfly, maybe having a strap nearby or some blocks would be good. And we have a new speaker here, a new speaker that I'm using a microphone, so I'm gonna maybe have some feedback here, I'm not sure, but we'll see. And with that, let's go ahead and bring some music on. And go ahead, as you're arriving at the back of the mat. There we go. Okay, there. And having the water bottle nearby as well. We'll go ahead and start back of the mat, noticing the breath. You don't have to change the quality of the breath. You can feel the mat under your feet. If your legs are feeling tight at all, keep a bend to the knees. The deeper the bend, the easier it'll be on very tight hamstrings, calves. And as we settle in, the heart rate should start to slow. And maybe your inhales and exhales might slow down as well. Bringing our left palm to rest on the chest and our right palm on the lower belly. We'll start to cultivate our yogic breath. Inhaling with a little more control through the nose. Feel the hand on the chest lifting as you reach the top of the inhale, maybe even the collarbones lift. A brief pause before you start to slowly exhale through the nose as well. And as you get to the bottom of the exhale, gently engage the core, bringing the belly button towards the spine. And then you begin your next breath cycle with a little more control, both the inhales, exhales, pauses in between, giving us about a 5 to 6 second breath cycle. Let's finish cultivating the breath with the sound of the ocean at the back of the throat. Go ahead and open up that space like you're fogging a mirror, like you're yawning. All right, and we'll begin to bring breath and movement together, bringing the hands down to the side, nice and relaxed. Go ahead and reset the mountain at the feet, lifting the toes, the heels as you need. They should be right under your hip bones. Let's go ahead and inhale. Start to press into the feet, lengthen through your mountain, and feel that energy drawing from the feet all the way up the spine to the crown of the head, maybe even beyond. Brief pause as you start to exhale. Feel that energy return through the body, reverse course through the legs, down to the feet, to the mat, and beyond. Next inhale draws that center of gravity at the soles of the feet towards the toes, and the body is primarily just like a big stick, moving forward till you find that tipping point. Use the next breath, start to bring that center of gravity towards the heels until you get that, once more, that tipping point. Hopefully you can coordinate each breath with each movement forward and each movement back. And then we'll meet at center, somewhere above the ankles. Feel yourself dropping into your mountain. Inhale, reset once more, lifting all the way up through to the crown of the head. We're just going to take the exhale to slowly release towards the outer edge of the right side of your feet. Fully exhaled there. Inhale back to center. Exhale over to the other side, to the edge of the soles of your feet. And as you make a 3-part breath, you can inhale up to center, exhale to the other side. You can do a 2-part breath, just breathe from side to side. Look at that horizontal mapping at the feet, and let's meet back at center, somewhere above the ankles, near to the heels. Resetting once more, we're going to lift up, maybe a little longer, a little taller in our mountain. And as we're energized upwards with that crown of the head shining towards the ceiling, start making circles at about the ankles. Imagine radiating those circles out towards the perimeter of the feet, and do this with exploratory movement. You know, it might take a little bit of time to get to the edge. And as you find that edge all the way around, we're going to go ahead and tighten in the circles once that's found and meet back at center, like water going down a drain. Settle into the mountain. Inhale once more, lengthening all the way up. Feel as if your legs are internally rotating and the feet are pressing down at about the center of the feet. So as you come back into your mountain, so you get a little longer, a little more stable in your foundation. Anyhow, lifting all the way up. We're going now in the opposite direction, small circles at the ankles. Find the perimeter of the path in this direction, all around the soles of your feet. And then we'll tighten in the circles, meeting right back at center. And once more, meeting in a mountain. We're going to start to shift our weight from side to side. Just get that balance sort of off from left to right. And you might need to pivot out the toes. And as you start to shift the weight, and we're just moving our body from side to side, as more of your torso moves to one side, you might have the toes pointing in that direction as well as you pivot on the heel gently. That momentum of the upper torso should hopefully carry some action to the arms that are nice and relaxed. And if you have really good twisting, swiveling action, you might even have the hands tapping at the hips, at the groin, at the sacrum. And then we'll go ahead and return to center. Slowly just let that energy peter back. Bring the feet underneath the hips once more. Reset the mountain. We'll move on up. Internally rotating those legs, getting a little more of the tailbone to tuck under and pressing forward with the hips as a whole. See if you can bring those shoulders into alignment just with a little bit of an upward movement and roll back, something over the hips. We're going to do our shoulder roll. So palms facing forward. Let's go ahead and inhale. Shoulders are lifting up towards the ceiling. Exhale, roll them back. Let them slide down. Tuck in the points to the mid-back at the bottom of the exhale. Draw in the belly button. We'll do a total of 4 breath cycles, just like this. Inhales are upward, really gathering energy through the nose, finding length. In each exhale, engaging the core, feeling stable from the belly down as you release through the shoulders. And when you're done with your 4th set, we'll go ahead and repeat another set, this time forward on the exhale. So inhaling up, rolling shoulders forward on the exhale, and a total of 4 breath cycles, doing just this motion to help release through the upper back. Let's see if you can engage, facilitate each release with that ocean breath as well. All right. At the end of that set, we'll move on up, reset the mountain once more, lift a foot, reset the balance between the feet if you need, especially if you have a tendency to grip your feet. And standing up just a little longer and taller, we'll imagine the string at the crown of the head lifting all the way up towards the ceiling, bringing hopefully the ears a little more over the shoulders, over the hips, over the knees, over the ankles. Feeling that upward movement, just really reaching upwards with the inhale, exhale, just let the right ear dip towards the right shoulder. Left and right shoulders are still in one horizontal line, as are the hips with one another, the knees, the ankles. Use the next breath or so. See if you can find length with each inhale, even at the sternum, and turn the gaze on the exhale if you haven't already. See if you can just find that release with each exhale slowly. Bringing the yogic ocean-like breath to help facilitate each release. Exhale. Bringing in each energizing inhale. Maybe at the very last, you can have your eyes resting behind your right shoulder. After that, let's go ahead and bring the eyes, the gaze, the crown of the head lifting all the way to the ceiling. So all you have to do is exhale, left ear towards the left shoulder. Inhale for length. Exhale, turn the gaze and find release on the right side of your neck. Maybe even in the eyes, deep in the eyes by that very last exhale. And after the very last breath cycle, go ahead and bring the eyes, the gaze, the crown of the head lifting towards the ceiling once more. So all you have to do is exhale. Let the eyes float towards the top of the mat and let them rest there while you still have space between your chin and your chest, and you still have length in the neck, maybe a slight tilt at the crown of the head. But for a total of 4 breath cycles here as well. Finding length and opening at the base of the neck. And stability, the column of the body energized from the shoulders all the way down to the heels. And after that very last breath cycle, go ahead and bring your inhale to help bring the gaze up, past the midline towards the ceiling right above you, and you can go ahead and stop, craning the neck once you can see somewhat above you. Use the next 4 breath cycles here to release in the throat. We're not resting the base of our skull on our shoulders. We're still maintaining support of the neck, just giving some opening to the front of the throat. You can facilitate opening in the jawline, maybe a gentle, slow swaying of that lower jaw from left to right. Maybe a small O shape to a larger O. See if you're furrowing your brow. See if you can relax. Let your ears melt down. And after your very last exhale, we're going to inhale, bring the gaze up and over to the midline and down and rest right there. Go ahead and shake out any residual activation of the lower body, lift up your feet, and we'll go ahead and start our folds to initiate our walking meditation. So resetting the mountain once more. See if you can find a little more square foot foundation, even stability from heel to toe, side to side as well. And lengthening through the legs, lifting up, tucking the tailbone. We're reaching downward with extended arms. And as we reach downward, we can inhale the extended arms, hands going up towards the ceiling, and there we can even lift up with the torso fully inhaled. Exhale, engage the core. You can bend the knees, start to stick the tailbone back. We're bringing down a straight back. Somewhere halfway down, if you need, you can always walk the hands down the legs or just let the back sort of float downward. Your hands will land where they need to. Maybe it's the forearms to the thighs, but you want to feel that support of the lower body from the hips all the way down to the heels. Good firm support at the base of the feet all the way up. And you're just allowing, with good deep bends to the knees if your legs are tight, but that column of support, once it's established at the legs and the hips,
Then hopefully you're releasing from the tailbone, down the spine. See if you're holding on to your head in any way. You might just give yourself a gentle nodding from left to right, up and down. Maybe even let your head kind of dangle at some point. If your arms are nice and relaxed, maybe they're just dangling in the air right above the mat. Maybe they're touching the mat. Maybe your hands are on your shins, ankles, toes, wherever you have contact. We're just going to touch that for just a moment and see if we can lengthen through the legs. See if we can lengthen from the tailbone to the crown of the head. And then we're going to exhale, release once more, gently bend the knees. And as we find that support once more from the hips down to the heels, we're going to do a slow roll up out of this first long forward fold. So go ahead and use your hands. Start to feel an engagement in your core, in your thighs, stepping into your feet. We're inhaling, slowly rolling up the spine, one vertebra at a time, using our hands to help walk up the torso if we need. But see if you can lift up, pressing into the legs to help straighten up the body. And last thing to stack on the spine is your head. Give yourself a moment or two to let the blood rush back to the top of your head, and we'll do another fold. Resetting our mountain if you need, but stepping into it, engaging the core. We're reaching downward with our hands. Inhale, bring the arms up above the head. Hands are reaching up. Engage the core, hinge at the hips, and bend the knees if you need. And we start to fold, floating down or walking the hands down halfway if you need. Now here, we're coming into another fold, not quite as long as the first one, so you can bend one knee, bend the other, just play with the support from the hips all the way down to the heels. You can see about shifting hips in this plane, this lateral plane from left to right, just getting a little movement. And then we'll do one more return to our mountain. You can do a slow roll up once more, or you can do a straight back. But either way, we're engaging our core, and on the inhale, we're pressing into our feet, coming on up, rolling up, or coming up with a straight back, lifting all the way up. The hands come up, and then bring palms down, heart center. As you exhale, resting at the heart center, we'll start our walking meditation. Engage your core, step into your left leg, standing weight to the left side of the body. See if you can lift that right foot and balance as you bring the heel or the mid part of your foot, ball of foot, toes down, completely exhaled here with that foot down. We can inhale, bring standing weight to that right side, lift the left foot, see if you can balance it and bring it down. Fully one step forward as you have one breath cycle. Inhale, the pause, the exhale, and the pause. Engaging the core will help to maintain your balance, especially if you feel wobbly as you're walking. And at the top of the mat, we'll look down in mountain at the fingertips, pressing into the palms. Inhale, watch the fingertips rise. And at the top, we'll separate our palms. Engage the core, reaching upwards and sticking the tailbone back. We're just folding once more into another forward fold, walking, floating down. And here, you can inhale, press into wherever your hands have contact, be it the thighs, the shins, the floor. Lengthen into a half lift, nice and long. Engaged core from the hips down to the heels, from the tailbone to the spine, to the crown of the head. Nice long spine. And then exhale, bend the knees, come on down towards the mat, closer so that you can bring your hands to the blocks, to either side of your feet. And as you step one foot and then another foot, you're coming back into a high plank for just a moment. Inhaling the shoulders over the wrists, and then we're going to bring the shins, roll the tops of the feet down if you can, and feel the tops of the feet as well as the shins supporting the lower limbs as the top of the body is being supported by your hands in sort of a 90-degree angle right there at the wrists, but you can always lift up the knees and walk a little bit backwards to not have so much pressure on that wrist if you have sensitive wrists. Now here, You want to make sure that you're feeling that diagonal from about the shins, the feet shins, all the way to the crown of the head, and you're sticking the belly button to the spine. Nice engaged core. And we're lengthening into our arms to give us a good protraction of our shoulder blades so we can support the upper body. Give yourself one good inhale, tuck the toes, lift up the hips, exhale, press the hips towards the back of the mat, lengthen through the legs down towards the mat, but your heels don't have to touch the mat. And you can have a deep bend to the knees if you're having difficulty lengthening through your legs. What we're looking for is your head somewhere in between those upper arms. Fingers are splayed, and your eyes rolling towards the hands, not craning the neck. If you need to look forward, you can also look straight down, and we're making sure the shoulders are not turning into our ears. Imagine, if you can, with the deep bend to your knees, the lifting up of the hips, and at the same time, the pressing down from the hips down to the hands and from the hips down to the legs. So you have this sort of two direction of energy going down while the one direction at the hips goes up for sort of like an upside down V. Okay, rolling the eyes towards the hands, we're going to inhale. Keep that deep bend to the knees if you need. We're going to walk our hands to the back of the mat, to the fold, and put your hands where you need to. We're going to inhale. Half lift, lengthen through the legs, feel that column of support from the hips down to the heels as you're lengthening through the upper torso. Exhale, fold again, engage the core. You can come up with a slow roll up, walking the hands up, or come up with a straight back, but either way, inhaling, coming all the way back up to mountain, reaching up so you can press down through the legs, separating the palms, bringing the palms back together, down, heart center, relaxing the shoulders. Inhale and exhale. Let the blood rush back to the head. And we'll do another set. Inhaling, standing weight to the left leg. Lift the right foot. Exhale the right foot down. Engaging the core, pressing into the palms if you need. Inhale the left foot up. Exhale it down. And as you do a slow walking meditation, one full breath cycle per step, we'll meet at the top of the mat in mountain and looking down at the fingertips, pressing into the palms. Let's watch them rise. Inhaling, separate the palms at the top. Exhale, engage the core. Start to hinge at the hips, sticking the tailbone back. Engage your core. And you can walk the hands down if you need or float on down to your fold once more. Inhale, press into wherever your hands have contact. Lengthen through the legs and the back. Exhale, back to the fold. Press your hands either onto your blocks or onto the mat, either side of your feet. Start to walk the feet back. And this time it's a high plank for 3 good breath cycles. So we're going to lengthen all the way from the heels to the crown of the head. Engage your core, your one long hypotenuse, one long diagonal. And you have these points of energy from the shoulders down to the hands, from the heels down to the balls of the feet, but you still have that really strong diagonal. Let's go ahead and inhale. Lift the hips, start to press the hips back, and come on to your down dog. Not too long there, but you get to really activate your high plank at that point. And we'll go ahead and in this down dog, you have about 3 breath cycles. See if you want to walk your dog. Bend one knee, lengthen the other leg. Alternate between the 2 legs. See if you can inhale, lift all the way to the tiptoes. Exhale, press into those strong arms and lengthen through the legs. See how low your heels go. And with the next inhale, we're going to roll our eyes towards the hands. Bend your knees. Engage the core and start to walk the hands to the back of the mat, to the fold. Once more, fully exhaled here. Let's inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Engage the core, press into the feet, firm up the legs. Inhale, your choice, 1 vertebra at a time, slow roll up, or hands above the head. And then exhaling hands down, heart center. Feel that core engage and a rooting down all the way to the mat. Hands relaxed at the side.
All right. Oh, it's nice and warm in here. So you hopefully feel a little bit warmer, that some of these major joints like our elbows, our shoulders, our hips have gotten a little more lubrication, and there's just a little more fluidity and range of motion. And it's a great time for some water. Now what we're doing next is usually getting into that square foot mountain. And we're hugging our shoulder ball joints, giving ourselves the draping across the neck with the fingers, just like we did with the last class. And I'm going to turn to different perspectives just so that you have an idea. But you can, if you're in the class facing forward, probably be the easiest. But starting off, just return to your mountain. See how it feels now. When we first entered the mountain pose at the beginning, I'm sure that's very different from how it's feeling now. So as you come back into your square foot mountain, feeling just a little bit longer, more stable in the legs, feeling more of each of these major joints, the ankles under the knees over the ankles, hips over the knees, and getting that gentle tuck of the tailbone under. So that might, as you're just getting here, getting that forward and back, foundation set, and then you can think about if you have a anterior tilt, lengthening, tucking under that tailbone, bringing the legs to be just a little longer, internally rotating them, so you have just more stability of each of these major lower limb joints being supported all the way up to the hips. The shoulders rolling back and down, giving yourself some time to just let the body fall into place, having eventually the gravity pressing down in the most optimized way that your body can hold on to that pressure of gravity. All right, so when we're here then, and you have less of that tilt, then we can feel that we're just energized and we can be here supported in our standing legs. Try not to hyperextend your knees. So just play with that placement of center at the soles of the feet while your major joints are stacked up. Then, if you have a strap nearby and would like to put that around your shoulder at some point, because we are moving into some of these shoulder stretches, and you know, sometimes it just helps if you're transitioning in your practice. So, as we go into our first stretch, typically we're pressing into our foundation in our standing mountain that's newly revised, returned. We'll bring our arms up. So inhaling, palms can face each other. And let's stretch all the way up. And as you stretch, I encourage you to feel as if you're rolling onto the balls of the feet. You're just internally rotating those legs, feeling that support. So you're nice in one support column here. We'll go ahead and grab one of your wrists. My right hand is grabbing my left, and I'm just lifting up, anchoring that same side leg. So my left foot is down, my left hand is being held. And then we're just going to start to slowly, it's just drawing the hand over. We're feeling the stretch right about here. And you're anchoring yourself so you don't tip over, hopefully. Inhale all the way back up. Release the hands, let them flutter down, forward, and just like dangle like weights. And then we'll do another inhale up. And feel that support all the way from the feet to the top. We'll go ahead and grab the opposite. Now you might want to think about the orientation of your grabbing hand, holding hand. But then with the next inhale, we're lengthening upwards, pressing down on that same side foot, and then just letting the hand move over while we're still anchored. We should get that nice stretch right around here. Inhaling, exhaling, and then we can inhale all the way back up and just let the arms slowly float back down, forward and back. This time, maybe side to side while they're in front of you. And maybe just going all the way back behind you, tapping your sacrum, tapping your glutes. And we'll go ahead. And this time, we're going to be grabbing one end. So my right hand is on the strap. My left hand is going to be going up as well. So as we go up like this, then the left hand is just going to come down. And I'm going to turn around. We're just going to bring our elbows to a bend. And with this strap at the back, You can either hold on to it or cultivate it, but right now we're focused more on the elbows. If your elbows are way askew here, then we're just trying to find some place that we can bring the elbows. Maybe we don't even have the strap at this point if we're dealing with the elbows. But once you can bring that lower position closer to the rib cage and this upper position of this elbow right above the head near it, then you can think about bringing hands, just bending the hands, seeing where they meet. Maybe you're just touching the back. That's okay. Maybe you're using the strap. Maybe you're at a fingertip position. Maybe you're at a wrist position. It just depends. But as you're at your final sweet spot, you can inhale and just bring the movement in the rib cage. Inhaling to lift, exhaling to engage the core. One more inhale to lift. One more exhale to engage the core. And then we can bring this top hand down, bring this back bottom hand towards our side, and just let the shoulders kind of rest. Do what movement feels good to release. You might do a gentle yes nod, and being back at center, a gentle no nod. And we'll move to the other side. So if you are using your strap, think about it. You might want to put it in your hand. You might want to grab it later. But then we can inhale, up go our hands, and we'll go ahead and let this one float on down as we make our elbows bend. And you know, if you're not feeling it, don't push it. You just, especially as you're moving towards the back of your sacrum, you want it to be relaxed. You might just be happy if you can get here. You want nice and relaxed shoulders and the elbows eventually close to the body. And then maybe you might have a strap. You might just be using your back. Oh, I can tell I'm extra stiff this morning on this side. I can't even feel them. So we might just be working here, making sure that we have a nice lengthening here of the top of the shoulder and bringing that to where we can breathe. 2 breath cycles, inhaling, exhaling, inhaling, exhaling, and then removing the top hand, bringing the bottom arm just to our side. And again, one side might have been stiffer, notice that. And you can keep the strap nearby, but with these next shoulder movements, we're just going to be moving forward and back and seeing what we can catch at the back. So once again, making sure our mountain is nice and stable, but then we're going to give ourselves some time to allow an opening in the chest. So you can grab a hold of the hands, maybe you can intertwine the fingers. Just try to make the hold nice and relaxed though. If you notice that your foundation shifted, in the meantime, pay attention to maintaining that balance at the base. And once you have that nice sweet spot, we're going to lift up through the sternum as we inhale, and then exhale. Feel those shoulders relax down. One more deep inhale. Maybe you feel your rib cage expand sideways. And then one deep exhale. Draw the belly button in towards the spine. Engage the core. Expel the air. And then release the hands. You might bring slow circles. You might bring maybe the shoulders up a little bit and then release. Moving the elbows forward and back, giving yourself some space at the bottom there. Alrighty. And then we're going to start giving ourselves a little more space as we're swinging our hands. And then with that momentum, see if you can grab a hold of the shoulder, balls of the shoulder joints there. And it doesn't matter which hand is on top when you first grab a hold of the shoulders, but note it. Right now it's my left that's on top. So I'm going to go ahead, we're going to go ahead and do some more swinging, maybe front and back, maybe forward in front of you, and then try to put the opposite hand on top of the opposite elbow. if you didn't remember or it didn't work out, don't worry about it. Your body will self-correct, I'm sure. But we're just doing that twice. Release once more, swinging the arms. See if we can get a hold of the shoulders. Maybe our fingers go a little further back behind the shoulder blades, the second attempt. And we'll go ahead and release. Go ahead and swing them once more. And our last one. See if you can get opposite. Elbows up there. See if you find a little more space in between the shoulder blades. Right about here, right about there. And then give yourself a good inhale, lifting up through the sternum, through the crown of the head, lifting upwards. And a good deep exhale. And then release the arms. Alrighty. And then, just as we did before, we are hopefully a little more open now. But what we can do now is think about coming across with opposite hand to the opposite shoulder to grab a hold of that shoulder. But if you can put it on the same side, see if you can do that too. But all we're going to do is use the finger clasp, sort of like this hinge hold, and let the gentle weight of that arm just rest on your chest and give your shoulder there a nice kind of pull downwards. So again, depends on what feels better for you. You can do one hand at a time. You can do two hands. If you do one hand at a time, do both sides before you switch to two hands. Alrighty. So we're just doing 2 sets of finding some space and release at the shoulders, at the top of the traps there, with our fingertips. One last one for me, opposite hands. You can gently tuck the chin on that very last one. A gentle nod, a gentle, not shaking of the head, but left to right movement. And then we can release. Go ahead and roll out the shoulders, alternate. Do what feels good to kind of release through there. Notice how your feet feel, if they need to be reset. Coming back to our 1 foot mountain once more. Feel that rolling from the heels to the toes if you need to reacquaint yourself with that mountain. And then we'll go ahead and bringing the arms out to a T. We're just going to bring one arm under the other and hug in that elbow straight across the chest. So you might think of opening up and just seeing where that lands. One elbow bends on top, and whichever the underarm is, how do I say that better? Anyhow, the arm closest to you, folded closest to you, is going to have that first edge. So give yourself some time there, breathe. A couple of breaths in, a couple of breaths out. And then one more deep inhale. Feel as if your crown of the head is lifting. And then as you exhale, gently see if you can hug in that bent elbow any closer to the chest. And hopefully what you're feeling is, with that very last breath, a really nice opening here as you're externally rotating out, drawing that elbow in closer towards the chest. And then, as you come across here, when you're ready to release, we'll go ahead and slowly just bring it out and let it dangle at your side. You can turn your head gently to the left and let this just kind of dangle. You can bring the gaze up. You can turn the dangling plum sort of feeling a circular motion into the opposite direction as well. And then we'll go ahead and bring the gaze back to center. We'll use the other arm. So inhaling, arms are being stretched out, and then we're just going to bring the opposite arm underneath that elbow. Now I have my left elbow folded across my chest, and we just gently bring it in until it stops. We don't force it. It'll have that first edge. Give yourself a few breaths. You can play with neck movements to help releasing the neck. But we want to keep this bent elbow right about at the chest level. And right about now, we're going to give ourselves another deep inhale. Feel that space between the shoulder blades widen, and then with the exhale, gently see if you can hug in the folded arm closer towards the chest. And you'll have that external rotation of the shoulders as that occurs. I'll turn around once more, and hopefully you're feeling that nice opening right here. You can gently look down, gently bring the gaze to center, gently look to the left, to the right. Breathe deeply once more. Exhale. We're going to slowly release the arms and let this left shoulder come back. Do what feels good to release from there. And then we'll do one more shoulder stretch. In the front, we'll have our eagle arms. So unlike before where we tucked under and drew the elbow across the chest, this time we're going to see about just bringing the elbows to meet. Maybe the forearms can get a little closer. Maybe the hands can meet. And we're bringing the elbows out in our chest area here, but we're not drawing it in so much. So as you inhale, bringing those arms to intertwine, you might just be here. You're feeling that deep opening at the back of the shoulder blades while your shoulders are being rotated outwards. And you can help to bring the internal palm position together, and that will hopefully bring you some space to the back of the shoulder blades near to those points right about here. They'll start to move this way at the bottom of the shoulder blades as you bring more of the palms together and bring more of the fists, the hands towards the face. You'll get that opening at the top of the shoulders, and you'll have the points of the shoulder blades hopefully coming in just at the bottom. We'll go ahead and inhale, and then exhale. Just let yourself unwind and slowly release. Let them dangle. If it feels good, you can do slow circular movements. Explore how that feels. Turning the wrists slowly while they're down here. Help to release through up there. Use the shoulders up and back and down. Bring the neck, if you were tilted forward, bring it back again. And we're going to do that once more. I'm going to reset my mountain. And we're doing our eagle arms. And if you can remember which one was on top, that's great. But don't worry if you can't. It should feel like, the wrong one's on the top. This time, we're going to switch. And now we'll have the lower arm at the top and the top arm at the bottom. You should be able to feel that. And again, work your way. It's bringing the elbows at about chest level. Hands can be way out here, but we're working towards bringing it in towards the face. And you'll feel that stretch in the back of the shoulder blades. As more of the palms come together, as more of the forearms meet together, and you bring your hands more into this eagle, twisted eagle pose. And give yourself a nice deep inhale. Give yourself a nice deep, slow exhale. Engage the core, expel the air with the belly muscles. Draw the belly button in towards the spine. And then we'll go ahead and release through the arms. Slowly untwine. And make any small movements that feel good in the shoulders. How are we doing with time? Okay. And then we can use our chair to move into staff, or you can come down to the mat. But we're going to be moving now into a staff position and giving ourselves a like a half butterfly, half head to knee sort of bend at the hip and at the knee. So I'm going to start with the chair. So this is probably the easier way to get into it, but if you can get down to the floor and you're familiar with staff, you're making sure that you're sitting right at the edge of your sits bones. So I'm sitting forward, but I'm going to turn to the side so you have that point just in case. And the strap is really good here too. In your staff, if you're not able to touch your toes as we're walking forward, having that strap right there kind of helps you hinge forward. So that's another good use of the strap as you're in your staff position. But if you're in a chair or if you're on the floor, to get into our staff, we want to be on our sits bones. We want to be right at the edge so that we can sit right in that pelvic bowl and have that 90-degree angle or somewhat of that, as near to that as we can. And then we want to have those legs nice and long. Now, if we have shortened muscles at the back of our legs, we might really need to keep a bend to our knees. If we can't sit flat on the mat, we might need to be elevated, maybe 2 blocks, maybe even a big bolster. I had to sit on a bolster about 1.5 feet tall for me to get my knees to just be relaxed. So it just depends. But if you can find yourself in this general shape where you have about a 90-degree angle at the hips, your legs are nice and long, feet are comfortably flexed, and all we're going to do is sit nice and tall, get that 90-degree angle, that energy at the crown of the head, and keeping our hands right here on our thighs. We're going to start to walk and hinge at the hips until we can no longer hinge. And that may not be very far. We don't want to curve our back. We're not moving from the chest forward. We're moving at the hips, right where that ball and socket is at the pelvic bowl. And then you stop. And at that point that you stop, then you can focus on cultivating that length, giving yourself about 3 breath cycles to 5 breath cycles to find where your edge is. All we're trying to do is release through the back of the leg. And we want that hinging at the hips. And hopefully you'll find more of the thigh, the back of the thighs, the calves meeting the mat. And give yourself one more deep inhale. Feel that length from the hips all the way down to the heels, as well as the tailbone all the way to the crown of the head. And then exhale deeply. Draw the belly button in towards the spine. See if that allows you to forward fold just a little more at the hips. And then we're going to inhale. Start to walk the hands either at the sides of the legs, up the thighs, and bring the torso back up to center. Back to your staff position. And you can put the feet down if you're in the chair just to relax now. Sitting upright, a slight engagement of your core to keep and maintain this upright position. And then we're going to keep this left knee bent, slowly sliding that heel towards our perineum area. Now, if you're in your staff position, you're just going to have that foot sliding up on the floor towards your groin, and it's going to stop where it's going to stop. We don't want to start externally rotating out. We just want to bend that knee and bring it into a flexion, a deep flexion, while we're keeping the right leg in our staff position. So if you're in the chair, you just might be bending this knee, bringing it into this 90-degree position. You might be drawing the heel back closer. And eventually you might be able to hook the hands underneath the thigh and start to bring the knee up. So you have a deeper flexion at the hips if you're in the chair. And you just hold that. But wherever you are, if you're in the staff position with this left knee bent, you're holding for about 3 to 5 more breath cycles. Inhaling, you're finding that energy, scanning the body, seeing where that tension may be. And with the exhale, hopefully you find something release. And then after your very last breath cycle, you can just bring the leg back into a long staff position. If you held it up while you were in chair, go ahead and let it rest down and then slide that leg back long to meet the other leg. If you're on the mat, you're just coming back to your staff. You can tap out the knees, give yourself some gentle movement, maybe internal, external rotation, just nice and slow. Bend your feet, flex the feet, extend the feet, point the toes, wiggle your feet, and then we'll do that on the other side. So coming back to our staff once more, whether in chair or in on the mat, we'll go ahead and start to bend the right knee. Start to draw the sole of the foot towards your groin area. If you're in the chair, just come into this nice bent knee position. And as you can challenge yourself more in the chair, you can draw that right foot closer underneath you and eventually lifting up through that right hip, through the right thigh to bring a greater flexion, And you're just staying where you can in the staff position on the mat, just bending that knee and breathing once you found that sweet spot, 3 to 5 breath cycles. And after your last breath cycle, I'm going to bring the sole of the foot back to the mat, to the floor, and extend that right leg nice and long. And give yourself once more any counter stretching movements that feel good. I'm going to go down to the mat for the next section here. And just as we did the knee, head to knee position, which is basically just drawing the sole of the foot closer to the perineum as your knee is bending. Now we're going to externally rotate the hip, one side and the other. And if you're in the chair, you'll be doing the same thing where you just extend through the one leg in a staff position. And as you draw the opposite knee, you can start to externally rotate as that foot draws closer to the perineum. And you just stay in this position, making sure that you're just focusing once you reach that sweet edge of the 3 to 5 breath cycles and opening up the hip. And in our position on the mat, if you find that your knee is really high up there as you come into this half butterfly, having the block nearby is very key to allowing the body to have a little bit of safety and support that might enable that part of your body to open up just a little more. So having you nice and sitting upright here and drawing. I'm going to draw my left knee first. I'm drawing the sole of that foot in against the opposite leg. And this is about where I am here. So as you're noticing, you want to still maintain that seated position on your sits bones. So if you find that your lower back is curving too much, you might have to lower that opening. Find yourself more in the upright seated area, and you're just working on opening up as you can, where you can. You want to make sure that we're giving our body the alignment and the breath so that it can use the space to open up. And as more of that hip opens, you have more of an external rotation. You might be able to start adjusting your props, maybe a lower section as you're still maintaining. It can happen within the practice. It can happen over days, weeks. So just notice where you are. You're reconnecting to your body. And I think we've been here for about 3 to 5 breath cycles after that first edge. So when you're ready, after that last breath, we're going to internally rotate the hip first. You may need to lean back if your hips are really tight. Then we start to extend through that leg. And we'll go ahead, sitting upright in our staff once more. Give it some counter stretch movement. And with time. Okay, so we have time to come into this side. Oh, sitting nice and upright here. And then we'll go ahead and draw the knee towards the body, externally rotating at the hip as more and more of that sole of the foot comes up. And if you're really tight, it's just a matter of helping the body open up. Again, I'm more tight on this side. Could probably use a little more height on my hip. And from your sweet spot, it's just breathing. Much of the work that we're doing here in yoga is connected with the breath, enabling the body to heal itself. Okay, and as you finish up on this side, to come out, you can remove your blocks. We want to internally rotate the hip as we're lengthening through that leg and giving ourselves any last counter stretch movement. We'll be moving into Shavasana. So that just means get nice and comfortable on the mat. If that means that you're supporting parts of your body, if you have a rolled up blanket underneath the lower back, if laying on your back provides compression at the lower back, having support here with a blanket, with a block, that feels really nice. You can also, as we're making our way down to the floor, you don't have to stretch out the legs if that does not feel good to you. You can also just keep the knees sort of bent slightly further out than what we normally do in our bridge. And you can have them kind of knock inward and support yourself there. Just depends on what your body is needing. If it feels good to just stretch out, give yourself some time, especially with anterior pelvic tilts, habitually formed like that. It may take a while to just lengthen and untent those ankles, the calves, and having the support under the neck. I personally don't like too much support there. I like just the space, slight space given there. So again, depending on where you are, you might need to give yourself a little bit of time to get there as you're entering this final stage of our practice today. In our Shavasana state, just allow your body to respond to the practice. If things come to your mind, that's fine, you can note them, and then just allow yourself to breathe. When you hear the 3 bells, will awaken. bring the mind back to the body, taking note of sounds outside the room. Noticing the air as it enters the nose, the air as it exits the nose. Go ahead and make wiggling movements, rolling movements, any type of movement to bring the spirit, the breath, and the body back together. And then we'll meet in an upright seated position, crisscross applesauce, hero position, staff position, something where you can sit upright, and we'll end our class with a breathing exercise, our alternate nostril breathing. And so making sure as you're sitting upright, sitting on the sits bones nice and tall. We'll bring our left hand into a chin mudra, index and thumb touching. Rest that on the left thigh, knee. Right hand can come into a Vishnu mudra, which is basically the two fingers on the mount, so that we can close with the right nostril, left nostril with the right ring finger. But if that is too awkward, you can always just have those resting on the forehead and close with the right thumb and right ring finger knuckle, like so. Taking a nice deep breath in. Let's go ahead and close the right nostril. Exhale through the left. Use your belly muscles. At the bottom of the exhale, draw the belly button in, engage the core, and feel the perineum lift. Inhale deeply. Feel the rib cage expand. Collarbones will lift, hopefully, at the top of the inhale. Switch, close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Last breath. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Release the right hand. Release the mudras. Let the breath come back to its natural state. Bringing hands to heart center. Thank you so much for joining us here at the community room for gentle yoga at noontime. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
Yay! Start.